Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the Figure 4 podcast. I'm Michael Cummings. With me, Dan Marino. Dan, what's going on?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're only 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. Less than 2 weeks away, so I'm pretty excited. And lots going on this week on Raw and on SmackDown Live, building up to the grandest stage of them all, the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans. So I think the biggest news coming out right now on Raw and SmackDown this week, Daniel Bryan, that's been the biggest story in the last couple of weeks here, being cleared by WWE. Finally, 3 years, it's been 3 years since his last match, which is crazy to me, but he's finally back, and I know he's very happy for that. And it looks like he's going to be competing at WrestleMania, because last night on SmackDown Live, he challenged Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, two men who he's had a lot of history with. He challenged them to a match at WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan challenging them, and he's going to team with Shane McMahon. Now, is that match going to happen, though? Because we know Shane's ill right now, and I mean, there's a lot of question marks right now. But I know we want to see Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, but is this match even going to take place?
Well, it's super interesting because there were reports coming out that Shane wasn't going to be healthy enough to compete, and they kind of faced that head on during the show, right? Like, they weren't hiding away from that. They talked about what injuries he has. I think even Bryan mentioned it when he was calling out Owens and Zayn. So I'm not sure if it's storyline or I think it's probably legitimate, but he's probably already been cleared by doctors. You know what I mean? Because why would they be talking about Shane's injuries?
I mean, so Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer, very trusted source, he said that it's legitimate. He said all this stuff with Shane, him going on vacation and getting the infection and all that, and him being hospitalized, and that's all legitimate. So, I mean, it's interesting because it could just be a swerve. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's almost certainly legitimate. It's just weird that they're 2 weeks out from WrestleMania. They're pretty much confirming the match, but not really. But talking about it seems like one of those things where they're using reality to kind of build some kind of suspense over the match. Because what is the plan if Shane can't do it?
Because really, if it was as bad as they say it is, I mean, you'd just be shooting yourself in the foot, right?
Yeah, exactly, because you're building up to a match that you can't do.
Yeah, so it's like the John Cena Undertaker. I don't think any of us think it's actually not going to happen. You know what I mean? So right. I think we're going to have to see it. I'm excited for it because I know a lot of fans want to see Daniel Bryan back in the ring. I know Daniel Bryan wants to see Daniel Bryan back in the ring. So, and getting in the ring with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. But here's the thing: he issued the challenge, and he stated that if himself and Shane win, that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they stay fired. But if Owens and Zayn win, they get their jobs back. So, I mean, obviously you're not going to fire Owens and Zayn. Does this mean that Bryan's actually going to lose his return match? Or does this mean that Owens and Zayn, maybe they head back to Raw? I mean, we do know that Superstar Shakeup could be happening, post-WrestleMania.
Well, that's another thing with the match. I almost it's wrestling, right? Like, I almost don't think that it adds any kind of it shouldn't really change your prediction of the match because, like you said, if Owens and Zayn lose, they can just show up on Raw the next. They could show up on SmackDown the next week, and it wouldn't really surprise anyone, right? Like it's wrestling. I just can't see them having Bryan lose, like you said, in his first match in 3 years at WrestleMania. I guess the only way they can get around that is having Shane take the pin, but I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, the thing too is, I guess Bryan's the one enforcing this rule. I mean, the match hasn't technically been made official because I guess
Right.
Owens and Zayn haven't technically. I mean, I know Sami Zayn was tweeting on Twitter about that kind of stuff, but it hasn't been an official announcement yet. There's just the challenge has been official, so I'm kind of unsure what would happen. But I think Shane would. Yes, he would have to take the pin, but. If Daniel Bryan's going to be stepping away as GM, is this still enforced? But I guess it would be enforced by Shane. The Owens and Zayn not getting their jobs back. I guess that'd probably more likely be enforced by Shane, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like you said, it seemed has it have they really said if Daniel Bryan is stepping out as GM, is he wrestling and running the show? Like, he's not going to be doing that long term, obviously, but have they really talked about that at all?
They haven't really specified. I mean, even last night on SmackDown, Rusev said, "Oh, I'm going to go talk to Daniel Bryan." So he's about the U.S. title match, which we will get to. He's
Mhm.
talking about that. So obviously Bryan's still in charge, but I don't really know. They haven't really specified, but I don't think they'd want him to be doing double duty. And I doubt he wants to be doing double duty.
No, absolutely not. And it just like storyline wise, especially for someone like Daniel Bryan, who's the whole underdog story, I don't think it would make sense for him to do both.
No.
But
So here's
yeah,
my.
I guess. Sorry, go on.
So no, that's good. But well, pretty much I just want to say that I'm on the majority here. I'm excited to see Daniel Bryan back in the ring. And hey, look, we get to see the other general manager in a tag team match at WrestleMania. It happens. But here's my question to you. If Daniel Bryan eventually does step away as the general manager of SmackDown Live, who takes his spot?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I don't even know where I would begin to think of who. Do you have someone in
I
mind?
do, actually, I do. And I have two. I will say this. So there were reports earlier this week, I believe, that the WWE was in talks with Hulk Hogan on a possible return to the company. Not as a competitor, but just that, as once again, because he's been kind of written out of the history in a sense. They don't talk about him that much. And, that whole legal case that he was going with, they didn't really want to talk about it. But, I mean, I think everyone would love to see Hogan back on WWE TV, maybe.
I hadn't even thought of that. That is a solid prediction right there.
But, you think about SmackDown and Raw. I mean, obviously, Raw is the flagship show. It's the longer show. They're going to push that more. That's where all the part-timers go. Ronda Rousey, Goldberg. I guess we'll have to say Brock Lesnar as well. You bring Hulk Hogan onto SmackDown Live, and that's not a knock against Daniel Bryan, because you bring Daniel Bryan to SmackDown Live, people are going to be interested. You bring Hulk Hogan onto SmackDown Live, he's the icon. He's one of the biggest stars in wrestling's history. So, I mean, I think that'd be interesting. However, I do have a more reasonable one that I will say. Picture this. We know the rumors. Brock Lesnar, he might be gone after WrestleMania. It's possible that he's going to lose to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, lose that Universal title. Let's say he goes away. Let's say I'm done with WWE. I want to go back to UFC. Where does that leave Paul Heyman? Paul Heyman's got nothing to do. He's got no other Paul Heyman guys. He's got no Paul Heyman girls. And he has been GM of SmackDown before. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's one of the best SmackDown GMs of all time. That would
exactly.
That would work so well.
I think that could work, and it gives him something to do. People like Paul Heyman. He's great on the mic, as we've known for years. So I think that would be a great fit. And also, you have the best again of a face general manager on Raw with Kurt Angle, and then the heel general manager on SmackDown with Paul Heyman, because it was Daniel Bryan who was face, and even back on Raw it was Mick Foley who was a face. So now you have that contrast. So I'm not sure how that would work out, but him clashing with Shane McMahon, who presumably is still going to be a face post WrestleMania, it might be an interesting clash. And of course, the McMahons and Paul Heyman, they have a lot of history together.
Oh no, that would be super interesting. I mean, any excuse you can find to get a mic in front of Paul Heyman every single week is solid.
I love it.
That would be, in my opinion, that would probably be the ideal replacement for Bryan as GM.
Well, we did see Paul Heyman back on the mic this past Monday, promoting the match between his client, the reigning, defending, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Brock Lesnar, against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And you see this build. It's interesting because they're trying to build Roman Reigns as this is the guy you need to cheer for, and you should boo Brock Lesnar. I know fans know how this is going. They know how WWE's trying to play this, and I don't know if fans are buying into it because they cheer when Roman's getting hurt, but they're also cheering when Brock's getting hurt. So, do you think that this whole build up and Roman, if he does win at WrestleMania, do they think that will win the fans over? Or do you think it'll be more of the same of him getting booed and they're saying, "Oh, you're Vince's boy, not Brock"?
Well, that's tough. I don't think there's any way they're gonna get him over with the fans by WrestleMania. That would be borderline impossible. I do think they're doing the best job they possibly could in building this rivalry because, I mean, any rivalry, again, where Paul Heyman is on the mic is going to be solid.
It's great.
Reigns has actually cut some of his best promos in the last few weeks, and both segments with him and Lesnar, well, the one where he's handcuffed and Lesnar just tore him apart, and then even this past Monday where he attacked Lesnar and then Lesnar gets the upper hand. I thought both segments were awesome. So they're actually doing a really good job of building this rivalry, and they're doing a good job of, when in doubt, use reality to kind of get the crowd back on your side, and that's what they've been doing with Reigns, where he's calling out Lesnar for not showing out and being a part-timer. Almost exactly the same thing that he kind of did when he was feuding with Cena last year.
Yes.
So I think they're actually doing as good of a job as they can. But in terms of him not getting booed or him being completely over by the time he beats Lesnar at WrestleMania, I think the fact that this has been in the books for not even just a year, this has probably been in the books for about 3 years now, and people have known it for that entire time. I don't know if Reigns will ever be completely over, but it's definitely not going to happen within the next week and a half.
Yeah, it's rough, and I feel for Roman. I mean, obviously, he's the top guy, he's doing well. I'm pretty sure he's happy about that, but I feel bad because I know he's not an indie darling, as they say. He's not an AJ Styles. He's not a CM Punk, but you can still have success. You're still allowed to have success. He's paid his dues. He was in FCW. He was with all those guys traveling around in Florida, and he's working hard now. So I feel bad that fans, regardless of what he does, he could literally put himself in harm's way and potentially kill himself in any situation, but people still boo him. People cheer for against that. People cheer for him getting hurt. So I feel bad for him. But
definitely.
What I like about Roman going into the match at WrestleMania, which I'm going to assume is going to be the main event, even though Shinsuke Nakamura won the Royal Rumble and he should be main eventing WrestleMania. However, I know with Roman, if he wins the title, I think people need to view that as a good thing, because now you're going to get a champion, a world champion on Raw each week. Not every few weeks, not every couple months, every single week. Is that not a good thing?
Oh, of course it is. And I think this is something that especially the hardcore fans have been asking for a long time. Any time that Lesnar wins the title, this is what fans are asking for. And it's going to bring a lot more value to watching Raw every week. I mean, Raw is literally 3 hours every single Monday. Ooh. You can at least champion on the show every week, right? So, and it's not even just having the champion on the show every week, which obviously is important, but it's also the fact that, like I said, they've been planning to have Reigns go over Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania for the title for like 3 years now, right? Like the only reason they didn't do it a few years ago is because Reigns got so heavily booed at the Royal Rumble, and because Rollins was so over with the Money in the Bank that they felt like they might have hurt Reigns more if he went over at that time.
For sure.
But they've been trying to get this out of the way ever since, and now it's finally happening, and we can finally look forward to next year's WrestleMania being something a little more fresh. And again, I'm not saying that this rivalry is working. I've enjoyed every segment they've done so far, and the first time they fought, it was a match, and I expect it to be the same week and a half's time. But I'm just happy that, like you said, they're going to have a champion on the show every week, but also we're going to have more fresh ideas going into the upcoming wrestling year.
Exactly. And, the reports are saying now that if Reigns does win, he's going to be feuding with guys like Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe. I mean, that's going to be great. And the thing, too, with that is, even if people are booing Reigns, you can use that as an opportunity to build guys up like Joe, build guys up like Rollins, and make them the next, those faces of the company, which they kind of are already. But you can use Reigns and his hatred, in a sense, to elevate these other stars. So I like it. I think it's going to be good. And honestly, I know a lot of people might not be, but I'm pretty excited for the match at WrestleMania myself.
No, absolutely. Like I said, last time they were they fought at WrestleMania, I mean, they were hitting each other with everything. Like, that was one of the stiffest matches. That was definitely the stiffest match on that show. And so I expect it to be I expect no less in a week and a half's time. But like you said, like after WrestleMania, I'm really excited to see what they do with the feuds. Because, like you said, I did see rumors that Samoa Joe is going to be fighting Reigns for the title right after, and I think that would be amazing. And I like what you said about when Reigns gets booed, it can kind of help to elevate the guy that he's fighting, which would be either Samoa Joe or Seth Rollins or whatever. But if anyone can kind of try to get the crowd behind Reigns, it might be Joe, because he's such a damn good heel. I don't like. I know today's wrestling fans will still cheer you because you're a great heel, but
Yeah, look at the Miz. Look at the Miz.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
right? But Joe is such. I think that rivalry would be awesome, man. Again,
that's
no, go ahead.
it's just no, it's just crazy because you think about wrestling nowadays, as you just mentioned. You have Reigns, who's going to be the full-on babyface. You have Joe, who's going to be the full-on heel. Joe is the one that's going to get cheered out of that arena if he wins that title. If they meet down the road. Reigns, he'll get booed.
Oh, absolutely.
He'll get booed. And I feel bad for him, but that's just how things are nowadays. So, one thing I am very excited though about for WrestleMania, and one thing that's very intriguing, we still don't know who Braun Strowman's going to team with to challenge Sheamus and Cesaro for the Raw Tag Team titles. He defeated Sheamus this past week on Raw. He defeated Cesaro last week on Raw. But we still don't know, and he's not giving any sort of indication. Do you have any sort of idea as to who could be teaming with Braun?
Oh, yeah. So I think this is actually one of the most interesting kind of parts of the quote-unquote road to WrestleMania, as it were right now, because we pretty much know what all the matches are going to be. The only real mystery is who's going to be Braun Strowman's partner when he takes on the bar. And I don't know what it is, but I just had this weird feeling. It wasn't even this past Monday. It was the Monday before when they first said that he had to pick a partner. But Rey Mysterio. Because there's been rumors. I know he signed with some other company, but there's been rumors that he still wants to work with the WWE. And I think that would be a cool kind of clash where you have, the monster that is Strowman, and then he brings out Rey Mysterio, who's one of the most lovable underdogs in WWE history. I think it would make a really cool tag team. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I like it because I like the contrast. I like that you have that WrestleMania moment of bringing Rey back. We saw him at the Royal Rumble, and the pop was incredible. So, I mean, I do like that contrast. What do you think of this contrast, though? The exact same contrast, but with somebody who's already signed. We haven't seen him in a long time. He walked out, as they said.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Imagine the crowd in New Orleans when Braun Strowman brings Neville out as his tag team partner. I think that could work. I don't know how that situation's going. But imagine that. These two amazing heels. I wouldn't even call Braun a heel at this point. But you have these two guys who are super over with the crowd. Neville won that Cruiserweight title run, the king of the Cruiserweights. That was huge. And that was one of the only bright spots in Vince McMahon's 205 Live, I'll call it. But you have those two guys at WrestleMania, it's going to be intense. It's going to be insane. And I definitely think that I'm not going to say an easy win, but you get those guys with the titles, you can come up with some absolute gold. So I would love to see that. I feel, however, that the more obvious pick might be Elias. I feel like that might be the one just because they have a little bit of the history. Elias doesn't have anything to do for WrestleMania. If he's in the Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I think Elias should win. But if he's not in that, I think you got to put him with Braun. But I do have one more, and I'm just going to present it quickly. I know I'm just kind of rambling here, but I mean, we don't really know exactly what's happening with him now after Ultimate Deletion. But why not? Why doesn't Braun go back to a former mentor of his with Bray Wyatt?
Yeah, that's another one that I've heard. That would, all of those would work, man.
Because you have Bray, who people still love Bray Wyatt, but they just know that the company, they don't feel that same love that the fans once had for him. And I think they still kind of have it, but he's losing feud after feud. He just lost to Matt Hardy, which is no disrespect to Matt Hardy, but they're not letting him win. Putting him with Braun, putting him with one of the most over stars in a long time, could really rejuvenate his career.
Well, and he needs it. Like you said, he really, Bray needs something to kind of prop him up. Man, all those options are good. The Neville one would be, in my opinion, the ideal choice. Like, if Neville comes out next week on Raw, or they save it till WrestleMania, I would go absolutely insane. But the only reason I didn't make that my prediction is that I don't know if they're going to be able to bring him back. I don't know what the deal is.
We don't know the situation, unfortunately. So that's just something you're going to have to. I think that's going to be one of the more intriguing build-ups. I hope they don't reveal the partner until WrestleMania itself.
Oh, man, but revealing it on Monday would give you an extra incentive to actually to watch on Monday, right?
That's true. That is true.
It is the Raw before WrestleMania, so everyone will be watching anyway.
I
But
think that if it's yes, that's true. I think if it's a big name, they're gonna wait until WrestleMania. I think that'd be probably the best call to make because you're coming like right into the match. They're building the match. They're saying it's up next. The bar, I guess Braun would have to come out first, but
yeah,
Braun. Let's say the Braun comes out and then the bar come out and then Braun points to the entrance ramp. Someone's music hits. If it's that big, that's a WrestleMania moment right there. Especially if it was someone like Rey Mysterio, as you mentioned earlier. So,
yeah.
intriguing. I'm very intrigued. And well, interestingly enough, though, we do know about the greatest Royal Rumble event in Saudi Arabia in April. WWE has already advertised. Now, I'm not sure if its talent is subject to change, the card is subject to change, but they've already announced that the Bar will defend the Raw Tag Team titles against the Hardys at that event. So I'm not sure if that's a spoiler about what's going to happen at WrestleMania or that'll eventually include Braun taking that spot as the champion or whatever, but that could be a potential spoiler. And also that means that Jeff Hardy's very close to returning, but it's interesting. It's just something to keep in mind. It's not saying anything's going to happen. It's not a spoiler about WrestleMania. It's just something to keep in mind.
Well, yeah,
just saying.
Like you said, Braun and whoever can win the tag team titles at WrestleMania, and they could easily just change it. Like they could literally just be putting it out there so that people, like if they said the tag team titles are being defended, then people obviously would say, "Oh, well, then they're obviously dropping it at WrestleMania."
For sure,
right?
For sure.
Like you said, it could be subject to change. So I don't really think that gives away too much. Oh, one thing that I did want to bring up with Elias though is I think he did announce on Monday that he is going to be in the Battle Royal.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So I don't know if he can go back on that and end up being because I thought for the longest time that was going to be like when Braun first won the Battle Royal, I thought Elias was the obvious choice because it looked like they were going to feud going into WrestleMania, and then they just kind of cut that out so then Braun would win the Battle Royal to get into the tag team title match. But it looks like Elias is going to be in the Battle Royal. So I don't know.
We'll see what it's intriguing though. That's the thing, right? This is what you need for WrestleMania. You need to keep fans on edge, on their toes, thinking who's Braun going to team with? And Braun's the most over star in the WWE right now, aside from AJ Styles. So, it adds intrigue. And I mean, you got one guy challenging. Braun doesn't realistically need a partner. So, he doesn't need anybody. But I mean, Kurt Angle says he does. So I'm interested to see. There's a lot of names out there. Big Show, maybe.
Oh, that would suck though, wouldn't it? That would suck so much to hype this up and then Big Show comes over.
I'm sure Show would turn on him mid-match or something, and then be like, "No, we're tag team again." How Big Show works, but I mean, it could be Big Show's last WrestleMania, so that's the only reason I bring it up. But we'll see what happens. Yeah. The other big match for WrestleMania, we did touch on it earlier, very briefly. John Cena and the Undertaker. We know what's going to happen. It has to happen. John Cena, he beat Kane this past week on Raw. Called out the Undertaker. He was even mocking the Undertaker during his match with Kane. But Taker still hasn't answered the challenge. I'm going to assume that Taker answers the challenge 6 days before WrestleMania. Maybe even 5. Maybe on SmackDown. You never know. But probably on Raw. My question to you is this match past its due date, or is it still something that you would want to see as a fan? Do you think this should have happened, or do you think it should have happened maybe like 10 years ago?
Well, the funny thing is, I've heard people say, take both sides on this, and I personally can't, it is, like you said, it's well past its due date. It's as sad as it is to say, I don't even know that I want to see it at this point, because The Undertaker has looked so old and so broken in his last, 3 WrestleMania matches?
Yes.
Right? Undertaker versus Cena at WrestleMania is a dream match. It is a match that needed to happen, but they missed the boat on it. At this point in time, I don't want to see Undertaker fight John Cena at WrestleMania because I don't want to see Undertaker fight anyone. I want to see Undertaker retired and kind of... Undertaker's always going to have a legacy of one of the greatest characters in wrestling history and one of the greatest wrestlers, period. But I almost feel like he's still hurting his legacy at least a little bit by hanging on. And I'm sure this is going to be his last one, but it's just I have no reason to want to watch Undertaker go out there and look like not even a shell of his former self, but look like an old man in the ring and try to cling on to a 15-20 minute match where I'm more worried about his health than anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not entertaining to see
Yeah, I
Undertaker
get you.
anymore.
So, match happens. What's the result?
Mhm.
Who's going over? Cena or Undertaker?
Oh, I would hope Undertaker. I would hope the only reason he's coming back for one more, because like last year, as bad as the match was with Reigns, I thought it was a really good send off where Undertaker's whole thing is that he's true to the business. He wanted to put over a young talent before he left. That's the right way to do it. And the whole thing where he put all his stuff in the middle of the ring and walked out, it was great. I'd like to think that the only reason why he's going to jeopardize that perfect ending is to come back and get a win, because it's not like he'd be putting over a young talent this time. He's fighting John Cena. Like, John Cena can more than afford to lose this match to The Undertaker, right? So I would hope The Undertaker goes out on top. This is their way of saying, okay, you put over your young guy last year, but now it's time for you to kind of go out on a win at WrestleMania, like you deserve. Because what good would come out of John Cena beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania?
It's not like he needs the momentum.
No,
You know? So
certainly not.
he's set. But it's happening. It's gonna happen. So
Oh yeah.
Get ready. That's all I gotta say. So it should be interesting nonetheless.
As much as I don't want to see it, like, it's gonna happen. So I'll try to get excited about The Undertaker. One thing from Monday though, do you think Cena could have at least practiced doing the eye thing in the mirror beforehand so that he could have decided if it was going to work or not? Because I don't know if he meant.
Can you practice it though? Because you can't see yourself. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Well, I mean,
I guess you kind of could. You can record yourself
in front of someone else. You could do it in front of someone else, or like
ask Nikki Bella or something.
Exactly. Give it a practice before you go out there, because it was almost more unsettling and scary than when The Undertaker actually does it.
It just
but
in
the wrong.
It was awkward to say the least, but Hey, props to Cena though. I liked how he's getting very angry with Undertaker, and I understand.
Yeah.
But
I love
I
the way that, like, his promos over the last few weeks, like, and I expect no less from, like, I mean, he's John Cena, so I'm definitely not surprised. But yeah, his promos over the last few weeks calling out The Undertaker have been like grade A. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing it. And well. I love the way. And I love the way they're doing it. Like, they're going with the whole angle of Undertaker's disappeared and he's a broken. It's almost, again, trying to tie the reality into it, where they're not doing the whole phenom thing or the whole supernatural stuff. It's just, this is a man and he might be broken right now. I shouldn't say broken with the whole broken my heart thing.
Change your wording there.
But you know what I mean? Like, the Undertaker, the implication here is that he's ashamed and he's kind of in hiding right now, and Cena's trying to draw him out. I love the way they're doing it. And again, the promos that Cena's been cutting have been amazing. So, I mean,
great A as usual for I'd say for John Cena. I know a lot of people might not agree, but that is okay.
Oh, but those people are just like, and I get that Cena probably went over a lot of times when he shouldn't have. It's the same thing with Reigns right now, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact that Cena is like elite on the mic.
Oh,
you know what
sure.
I mean? Like, and like, it's one of those things where he's so good that the standard has been set so high for him. But I think people are now starting to understand just how good he is.
Well, Cena Taker, WrestleMania. I'm excited. And one other thing I'm excited about that happened this past Tuesday on SmackDown. One of the hottest acts in WWE is now finally getting a title shot at WrestleMania, because Randy Orton will not only have Jinder Mahal and Bobby Roode to deal with, he also has Rusev to deal with. Rusev earning himself a chance at the United States Championship at WrestleMania, making that a fatal four-way. I think Rusev's going to win. I think he has to go over. Imagine the pop of Rusev Day, one of the hottest things in WWE right now. Rusev Day winning the United States Championship at WrestleMania. I couldn't book it any other way. I don't think you could pick against Rusev to walk out of New Orleans as United States champion.
Well, it's interesting because they threw him in at the last second, which, I mean, the fact that it was already a triple threat match they were building towards a triple threat match for weeks, but it's been official as a triple threat match for like 2-3 weeks. And then they put Rusev in, means that he was not in the plans. Like, this was not what they were planning. I don't even think they were planning this a week ago, right? I just think it got to the point where, like you said, he was so over. The whole Rusev Day is so over that they just kind of had to give him a spotlight. I mean, he was going to be my pick to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal before this happened, but it's weird. Like, they throw him into the match at the last second. So does that mean that they're planning on him to win, or are they just trying to give him more of a spotlight? It's one of the most. I'm excited about it. I think it elevates the match in terms of how it'll actually be in the ring, because the more people are involved, the less Jinder Mahal needs to be involved. And as much as, like, I don't want to rain on the guy, but it's probably better for the match quality if that happens. But even in terms of the build to the match over the next 2 weeks is going to be like, people are going to be more excited about it because now Rusev's involved in it. So I don't know if they did it just for that reason, or if, like you said, he's going to go over. But it's definitely interesting because plans have almost certainly changed. Whatever happens at WrestleMania for this match was not the original plan when the match was conceived.
I will agree with you partly, and I'll say that, and the reason I'll say that is because I think, yes, initially this whole triple threat match was the plan, but I think very early on in those plans, they were thinking, we're going to keep Rusev in the back of our minds because he is hot right now. We didn't get him hot, so I know, with WWE, they don't like when the fans make something out of it. Zack Ryder, Damien Sandow, whatever. There's a whole list of it. But yeah. I think they gave into this one. And I think they gave in a while ago because, SmackDown, Rusev has a pretty decent role. I think people would want to see him have something a little more prominent. But now he's in a U.S. title match. He just pinned Randy Orton on Tuesday. So that's huge for him. So I think these plans were in place a bit early on, but not as early. So I'll give you that. I will give you that.
Yeah, I just have no idea because, like you said, he is one of the most over people in WWE. Like, the Rusev Day is huge, and it was kind of baffling that they weren't. It's not even just that they weren't pushing him; like, they weren't really doing anything significant with him, other than having him job out to Orton or Shinsuke or whoever needed a win at the time, right?
Yeah, like the blow off match. Sorry to cut you off there. The blow off match at Fastlane with Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah. I mean, we knew how that's gonna go, but still, people are happy to see Rusev, even if he's gonna lose. It's gonna happen. So maybe that sort of,
and it was a good match too.
Yes,
they put on a pretty good match.
Of course. So. Well, even and you just think about like what Rusev Day is. Rusev entered the Royal Rumble this year first.
Mm-hmm.
The pop. The pop in Philly was incredible for him. When you see Aiden English just walking on the stage, you know exactly what's about to happen, and the whole crowd is going crazy. And even I remember watching. I think it was Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, one of their matches. It was on Raw, and I guess fans weren't too interested, but they just started chanting Rusev Day. They started making a chant about a SmackDown Live superstar during Monday Night Raw. Yeah, you know what I mean? That was if that doesn't say over, I don't know what does.
That was Raw 25 too, wasn't it?
You know what? They've fought too many times for me to remember. I don't believe it was, but I'm not too sure. But
because I know they fought on Raw 25, but yeah, maybe it wasn't.
They fought on Raw 25. They fought on another episode of Raw. They've probably fought on another one. They do house shows. They did Ultimate Deletion. So there's a lot.
And they fought at a pay-per-view too.
Yes, there's a lot to choose from. But
yeah,
well, another match for SmackDown, for the SmackDown brand that got changed for WrestleMania, the tag team title match. So the Usos now have to face the New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers in a triple threat tag team match. So I will say initially that I think fans want to see the Usos in a standard 2-on-2 match, maybe a gimmick, but just them against one other team on the main card of WrestleMania, because they said 9 years they've been here, roughly. Not one WrestleMania main card match. They've done a couple pre-shows, they've done the dark match, whatever, but never on the main card. I'm not even sure this one makes it to the main card, which would be unfortunate, but there's a lot that they have to get through in the 7 hours that it is, 6 hours. So it's possible. And I know, Raw triumphs over SmackDown. That's just how it's going to work. That's how it's going to work in these dual branded pay-per-views going forward. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you agree with the triple threat rules, or would you have rather seen the Usos in a 2-on-2 competition, so to speak?
Well, I get what you're saying, because it is super unfortunate that the Usos have never had a 2-on-2 match on the main card of WrestleMania. It's almost a crime at this point. But at the same time, I just think it adds a lot more intrigue to the match. I think people are going to look forward to this more. And I think, I don't know if it necessarily makes it a better match, but it just makes it a more interesting one. The Usos and the New Day, anytime those two teams go head-to-head, is going to be must-watch TV. But it is something that's been done a lot of times. The whole Bludgeon Brothers thing is really cool. And I think I think the Bludgeon Brothers are going to go over at WrestleMania, and it was a good way to kind of tie them into the whole tag team title picture without forcing it. I think
they haven't lost.
Yeah.
This has to be building to something. Now it could just be these are the overpowered heels. They're going to walk through everybody, but then the good guys, they have to persevere and come through this obstacle and win at WrestleMania. You've seen the story before. It happens, but
yeah,
I think I'm going to have to agree with you. I think I'm going to have to agree with you, because not only does the match have such great contrast, but, you have the Usos and the New Day. I mean, they have a common enemy. They're not buddy-buddy. I mean, they kind of are, I guess, after the feud. But, you saw on SmackDown when the Bludgeon Brothers, they were all fighting with the New Day. The Usos came and made the save, and then the New Day and the Usos got into each other's faces. Then they had to, they fleet with one another. But still, there's something there.
Yeah, it's true. It's a cool dynamic where they were kind of the best tag team rivalry all year, and now they're not really working together, but they kind of are working together because the Bludgeon Brothers are tearing each team apart, right? So it is a cool dynamic, and I think at the end of the day, just to get back to your question of whether it would have been better for the Usos to just have a 2-on-2 match, if this is I don't want to say a 5-star match, but if this is a high-quality match, it doesn't matter, because now the Usos will be a part of a high-quality match on the main card of WrestleMania, and I think that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how many teams are involved.
I think, and you know what, I agree, and I think the thing with that is that it's WrestleMania. You look at every single match, or not every single match, but a lot of matches. A triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship, a fatal 4-way for the U.S. title, the triple threat tag team match. That's just how it's going to work. They're just trying to get a lot of people on. You get the Battle Royals as well. Just trying to fit as many people onto this very long show. So that's just how it's going to work. So I'm happy for him, and you get to see as mentioned, New Day and the Usos in the ring together. It's just gold as always.
Well, exactly, and I think we'll talk more about how I don't know what the word, overcrowded the card is next week as we're getting closer to WrestleMania, and how long it might be. But at the end of the day, if you want to see it from the company's point of view, every single wrestler on that roster wants a spot on WrestleMania, obviously, right?
Yes.
Everybody wants their moment on stage, the grandest stage of the
They all want their WrestleMania paycheck.
Exactly. They all want their WrestleMania paycheck. So it is one of those things where I have seen a few people complain about there being, like you said, a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, the fatal 4-way match, triple threat tag team match, 2 battle royals and all that. But for the wrestlers, it's almost like the WWE is doing them a solid, because everyone wants at least one spot, even if it is just being in a battle royal. It's better than not being involved in WrestleMania.
Yeah, so. You mean, look, you think of a guy like Kurt Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins has lost almost 200 straight matches, and he's probably going to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. You think he cares? He has to go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean, he might be
exactly.
He's going to be the first guy out of there. You know what I mean? As he was,
Yeah.
pretty sure he was eliminated pretty early last year. You think he cares? No.
No.
So, you might complain, oh, they need to have more one-on-one matches. You don't think The Miz, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor is going to be good?
Oh, it's gonna
The
be
U.S.
great.
title match is going to be good. It's a good dynamic. The Titan title
Mhm.
match, I think the more the merrier in some cases. So I'm happy with
Yeah.
it. I really am.
Oh, I definitely would like. I definitely don't understand the argument of there not being enough one-on-one matches because then I swear the card would be starting at noon, and you might not even like. There's no way that would be able to
Call in
work.
to work the next day. So
Yeah,
or
exactly.
don't go to school the next day. It's not worth it.
Exactly. But I'll probably end up making fun of how long the show is going to be next week and the week after. But
But you're gonna
I
watch,
do want to say that.
and you're gonna watch the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I'll watch the whole thing.
So
Of course,
there
it's
you go.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
gonna have to watch it on tape delay though. I have to go to an anniversary dinner that day.
There you go. Well, I'll try to. I'll make sure not to spoil it. I'll make
Yeah,
sure
I
not
just
to
gotta.
spoil
I gotta stay off Twitter and then
it. Well,
or all social media.
speaking of Twitter, because we're gonna end this here. You can follow us on Twitter at Figure4Pod, Figure4Podcast, what we're known as. I want to thank you guys for listening because this was our first episode. We went a little longer than we wanted to, but it is what it is. We're just testing things out here. So we're gonna be back next week. We're gonna try next Wednesday, sometime next week. We'll make a tweet, but you got to follow us on Twitter at Figure4Pod, and if you check the account's followers, you can check out Dan and myself, our personal accounts. I've been Michael Cummings, Dan Marino next to me. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Figure 4 podcast.